Hey guys, it's Miss Augustinelli, Literature 9. Today is the 29th of April. Can you believe we're almost through April? Today's lesson should be shorter than most. The purpose of that is to give you the opportunity to make up some of your work today. So if you're a kid that's falling behind, I made this lesson short for you. Please take advantage and please do one makeup assignment from another teacher or maybe even from my class. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at some data today and how to catch up if you're behind before we start our official lesson. And if you are behind in literature, come to my office hours. I will help you. I will walk you through each lesson. I will do the work with you. So honestly, just come to my office hours. I will help you. My number one goal is for you to succeed. So, hit me up. So here is the results from your feedback form on Friday. 68 of you did this, and of the 68 of you, 92.6% said that you liked this class, which made me really happy. I have an A. For the 7.4 who said no, I just request that you give me a little more specific feedback. So when I said, what should I start doing or stop doing, I just got a lot of I don't knows. So if you don't like this class, tell me how I can make it better for you. On a scale of 1 to 5, I asked you guys how difficult this class is. 1 being not very difficult, 5 being very difficult. It looks like most of us are in the 1, 2, 3 range, which is where I kind of want you guys to be with most of us sitting. It's medium hard. If you think this class is really, really difficult, if you're at the 4 or the 5, you can do this work with me on office hour days. I'll do this work with you. So just note that is always an option. Wednesdays and Fridays from 2:45 to 3:45, we can sit down and do this assignment together. How much time do you spend on work on this class per lesson? So not per week, but per lesson. So let's say the biggest chunk of you guys said 45 minutes, and 25% of you said half an hour, and then 20% of you guys said 1 hour. So this makes me happy. It shows you guys, a lot of you guys are spending too much time on this. Lessons should take you about an hour or less, and so that shows that most of us are doing that. If you are someone who says this takes you less than half an hour, just be careful. If you're getting hundreds, then by all means, keep doing what you're doing. If this takes you more than 1 hour, please tell me why. Come to my office hours so I can help you. This should not take you more than 1 hour, and I want to help you out with that. Okay, so if you are a kid that is behind, I made this originally for my advisory, but I thought maybe a lot of us could benefit from this. So I put the 9th grade schedule up along with some suggestions. So on Monday, most of you have PE, or maybe not most of you, some of you. I know PE is conditional upon your grades. So if you have PE, you do PE. The social emotional class is optional. If you find that you're getting a lot of benefit out of it, keep doing it. But I also recommend on Mondays, since you don't have as much work to do as other days, to try to make up 2 to 4 assignments. So if you're doing PE and the social emotional class, I think you should only make up 2 assignments. If you don't have to do either of those, try to make up 4 assignments. You should spend about 4 hours a day from Monday through Friday on schoolwork. So if you find yourself on Monday, I only spent an hour on PD, you could do 3 other assignments. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, you guys have your elective class, blended learning and environmental science. That's 3 hours of work. So if you're behind, spend 1 hour on one makeup assignment on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Wednesdays and Fridays, you guys have 4 classes, and they're all pretty hefty classes. So I wouldn't recommend doing a makeup assignment on one of these days just because they're already pretty heavy. I don't want you to get burnt out. But today, literature is short, so you can if you need to. And then over the weekend, maybe try to complete 3 makeup assignments if you're really behind, or maybe 1 assignment a day if you're not that far behind. It is not too late to catch up. If you guys are trying, you will succeed. And if you're reaching out to help, if you're trying your best, you'll succeed. So, your due now is to open your work from our lesson on Friday, April 24th. And you're going to check your answers to the comprehension questions as I go through them. So, here's your April 29th worksheet. This is not the one that you're opening. You're opening your worksheet from Friday, but you're going to be going over the questions that you had to answer as I go through them. So in Act 1, Scene 3, you guys were asked, what do Ross and Angus tell Macbeth and Banquo, and is it consistent with the witch's prophecy? The answer is that Ross and Angus tell Macbeth and Banquo that Macbeth will become the Thane of Cawdor, which is consistent. It is the same as the witch's prophecy. Describe the tone of Macbeth's line from pages 7 to 8, and what is he afraid he will have to do? For the tone, you could have many words here. If you have a word that is more negative, then you're probably right. I said ominous. You could have said something different. He is afraid that he will have to commit murder in order to get what he wants, which is, of course, to be king. I'm so sorry. I forgot to remind you, if you need to pause it now and check those answers for Act 1, Scene 3, please do so. Okay, so Act 1, Scene 4. Here are your answers. So how does King Duncan feel about Macbeth and Banquo, and do they return his feelings? King Duncan adores and respects Macbeth and Banquo. He values their loyalty and shows great gratitude for it. Banquo and Macbeth respond the same way to King Duncan, but Macbeth is engaged in an internal conflict. And then for number 2, you had to describe Macbeth's internal conflict. And the answer to that, and if you have something along these lines, and you can mark it right, he wants to be king. He feels a lot of ambition and desire to have that power, but he also sees himself as a good person who would never want to do something evil. However, in order to obtain the power he wants, he will have to do terrible things. So he's going back and forth. He's struggling with this. If you need to check your answers, if you need to toggle back and forth, pause the screen now and check your answers. Okay, our final set of answers. This is for Act 1, Scene 5. What does Lady Macbeth say that Macbeth lacks? So she says that he lacks what it takes to seize the crown. In summary, he is too kind, and she is worried that he doesn't have the mean streak required to commit murder and take what he wants. And number 2, what does Lady Macbeth want to do when she finds out Macbeth and King Duncan are coming to her home? And the answer is she wants to murder King Duncan. Pretty crazy. Go ahead and pause here and check your answers. So what you should have done now, or if you haven't done it, you can do it now. So you should have opened 424 worksheet. Tell me, how many questions did you get right out of the 6? This, even if you put a 0 out of 6, like if let's say you got 0 wrong, I'm not going to be mad at you for it. I just would like to know what your score was. And tell me why you think you got the score you did. Okay, so today we're really thinking about making connections from the play to real life. So we're thinking about what Macbeth reveals about human nature. So you guys have 2 questions to answer. These are questions that you're going to think about in real life. And then later we'll connect them to Macbeth. So I would take no more than 1 minute per question, total of 2 minutes. On your worksheet, answer, why do you think people betray others? And what makes a person good? So go ahead, pause this video, and answer these 2 questions. Don't take more than 2 minutes. Okay, so Kenya, my reader of the week, actually gave a really great suggestion. Others have given the same suggestion, but I read it specifically on hers. That's the one I remember. To give a recap. So when you guys join me again, you're not like, what happened last class again? So far in the play, we opened with 3 witches who say after the battle, they're going to meet Macbeth, and they're kind of weird. There's a big battle. Both of them are won by Macbeth and Banquo on King Duncan's side. Duncan is betrayed by his Thane of Cawdor, and so he says Macbeth will get the title. After that, Macbeth and Banquo run into three witches who give them this prophecy. And they tell Macbeth that he'll be the Thane of Cawdor, and later Macbeth finds that to be true. And so he struggles with, well, am I going to be king then, like the witches say? And now he's struggling with, what does he have to do to become king? And he's struggling between being a good person and maybe having to do an evil thing to do what he wants, to get what he wants. So if it is helpful for you, I'll give you a few extra points on an old assignment, maybe some extra credit if you want to just write your own summary of the play so far. If me talking was good enough for you, you don't have to do this, but I will give you extra points on a pre-COVID assignment if you fill this part out. Take no more than 60 seconds to do this summary. I don't want you taking all day on it. 60 seconds. So we are not going to actually read scene 6. A lot of you guys have told me that you're really stressed out with work. So I'm going to skip some scenes that I think are not very important. So this is just a summary of scene 6. You also have it on your worksheet. We're just going to read it out loud right now before we go into scene 7. So in scene 6, Duncan, the Scottish lords, and their attendants arrive outside Macbeth's castle. So now they're at Macbeth's house. King Duncan praises the castle's pleasant environment, and he thanks Lady Macbeth, who has emerged to greet him, for her hospitality. She replies that it is her duty to be hospitable, since she and her husband owe so much to their king. Duncan then asks to be taken inside to Macbeth, whom he professes to love dearly. So at this point, Duncan shows up at Macbeth and Lady Macbeth's castle, and they're being very nice to each other. They're going back and forth. Lady Macbeth is saying, "Oh, we're so glad you're here. We love you, our king." And Duncan has no idea what Lady Macbeth and Macbeth are thinking about or planning. If you are someone who gets distracted, I recommend you take a break, no more than 5 minutes. We are going to read scene 7 real quick, answer 3 questions, and then do an exit ticket after this. Again, like I said, it's a pretty short lesson. But if you need a break, take one. Of course, rest your mind. I recommend about 5 minutes. Okay, you guys have 2 options for reading. So you can either stop this video now and finish the work on your own. That is probably more challenging. I wouldn't suggest doing that unless you have an A or a high B in my class. Or you can read along with me in this video, which is easier. I kind of show you where you can find some of your answers. It's a little easier. So either stop the video and finish the worksheet on your own. Don't forget to hit submit, or stick with me. Okay. So kiddos that are sticking with me, we are going to go to Act 1, Scene 7. This is the last scene of Act 1. Isn't that exciting? We're almost finished Act 1. So I'm just going to scroll. That's Scene 3. I need to keep scrolling. Okay, here's Scene 7. Okay, so if you remember where we left off, Macbeth had talked with Lady Macbeth about the witch's prophecy. King Duncan comes to their house. Lady Macbeth says that, hey, we need to murder. We need to do what we need to do to get what we want. And Macbeth is still kind of on the fence. So let's see what happens. Act 1, Scene 7. Hot boys play. The stage is lit by torches. A butler enters, and various servants carry utensils and dishes of food from across the stage. Then, Macbeth enters. If this business would really be finished when I did the deed, then it would be best to get it over with quickly. If the assassination of the king could work like a net, sweeping up everything and preventing any consequences, then the murder would be the be-all and end-all of the whole affair, and I would gladly put my soul and the afterlife at risk to do this. But for crimes like these, there is still punishments in the world. Pay attention here to your first question. He says, for crimes like these, there are still punishments in the world. What does he mean by that? I'm about to read it. But for crimes like these, there are still punishments in the world. By committing violent crimes, we only teach other people to commit violence, and the violence of our students will come back to plague us teachers. Justice, being equal to everyone, forces us to drink from the poison cup that we serve to others. The king trusts me in 2 ways. First of all, I am his kinsman and his subject, so I should always try to protect him. Second, I am his host, so I should be closing the door in his murderer's face, not trying to murder him myself. Besides, Duncan has been such a humble leader, so free of corruption, that his virtuous legacy will speak for him when he dies, as if angels were playing trumpets against the injustice of his murder. Pity, like an innocent newborn baby, will ride the wind with winged angels on invisible horses through the air to spread the news of the horrible deed to everyone, everywhere. People will shed a flood of tears that will drown the wind like a horrible downpour of rain. I can't spur myself to action. The only thing motivating me is ambition, which makes people rush ahead of themselves towards disaster. At this point, you're going to pause the video and answer questions 1 and 2. 1 and 2. 1, I showed you, I kind of highlighted where you could find it. 2, you can find in this last sentence. Okay, welcome back. I assume you have paused and answers questions 1 and 2. We only have 1 question left before our exit ticket. Oh, whoops. So our next question is, between Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, who is more in charge / makes the decisions? So Act 1, Scene 7, page 2, Lady Macbeth enters. What news do you have? Macbeth asks Lady Macbeth. Lady Macbeth, he has almost finished dinner. Why did you leave the dining room? Macbeth, has he asked for me? Of course, here they're talking about King Duncan. They're talking about if King Duncan has asked for Macbeth. Lady Macbeth, don't you know he has? Macbeth, we can't go on with this plan. The king has just honored me, and I have earned the good opinion of all sorts of people. I want to enjoy these honors while the feeling is fresh and not throw them away so soon. Lady Macbeth, were you drunk when you seemed so hopeful before? Have you gone to sleep and woken up green and pale in fear of this idea? From now on, this is what I'll think of your love. Are you afraid to act the way you desire? Will you take the crown you want so badly, or will you live as a coward, always saying I can't after you say I want to? You're like the poor cat in the old story. Macbeth, please stop. I dare to only... I'm sorry, guys, I'm going to start this one over. Macbeth, please stop. I dare to do only what is proper for a man to do. He who dares to do more is not a man at all. Lady Macbeth, if you weren't a man, then what kind of animal were you when you first told me you wanted to do this? When you dared to do it, that's when you were a man. And if you go one step further by doing what you dared to do before, it'll be that much more of a man. The time and place weren't right before, but you would have gone ahead with the murder anyhow. Now, the time and place are just right, but they're almost too good for you. I have suckled a baby, and I know how sweet it is to love the baby at my breast. But even as the baby was smiling up at me, I would have plucked my nipple out of its mouth and smashed its brains out against a wall if I had sworn to do that the same way you have sworn to do this. Macbeth, but if we fail, Lady Macbeth, we fail? If you get your courage up, we can't fail. When Duncan is asleep, the day's hard journey has definitely made him tired. I'll go get his 2 servants so drunk that their memory will go up in smoke through the chimneys of their brains. When they lie asleep like pigs, so drunk they'll be dead to the world, what won't you and I be able to do to the unguarded Duncan? And whatever we do, we can lay all the blame on the drunken servants. Macbeth, May you only give birth to male children, because your fearless spirit should create nothing that isn't masculine. Once we have covered the two servants with blood and used their daggers to kill, won't people believe that they were the culprits? Lady Macbeth. Who could think it happened any other way? We'll be grieving loudly when we hear Duncan has died. Macbeth. Now that I'm decided, I will exert every muscle in my body to commit this crime. Go now and pretend to be a friendly hostess. Hide with a false pleasant face, and know in your false Hide with a false pleasant face what you know in your false evil heart. They exit. That's scene 4. If you understood that and you don't need any recap, you can pause now, answer number 3. If you need a quick recap, I will do that right now. So basically, Macbeth comes in and he's like, I don't know if I really want to do this. And Lady Macbeth is like, what the heck? This was your idea. So it's happening. The conditions are perfect. You're not going to be a real man if you don't do this. And so she convinces him, and they make a plan to get the servants really drunk and frame them by using the servants' daggers, which is like a knife, to kill Duncan. And then in the morning, Lady Macbeth and Macbeth will act all sad, so everyone thinks it was the servants. So you guys should be all set to answer number 3. Go ahead, pause, and answer that now. The last thing to do is your exit ticket. So this is all on your worksheet. If I just toggle over here, it's all here. You'll type in this box. Don't forget to turn in when you're done. The turn in button for you, I think, is up here. Oh my gosh, I keep dropping this. Macbeth and Lady Macbeth have made the decision that they are going to kill King Duncan. Why do they want to do this evil act? What causes good people to do evil things? So criteria for success is everything you need to do to get 100. Here are some sentence starters. I put these in order to show, so you guys can you can start with this one, move on to this one, move on to this one, this one, this one, and then your paragraph is done. So these are in order for your paragraph. Type it in here, and you guys are all done. I hope today's lesson was relatively stress-free. I tried to make it as short as possible. If you have any questions, come to my office hours, email me, text me. Let me know how I can help you, kiddos. I miss you so much, and I hope you guys are having a great time at home. Some of you might like it, some of you don't. I'm going to stop rambling anymore. I just miss you guys. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Bye.